I hope they can hear it. Hey everyone, my name is Shelly and I'm here at the TreeHouse with NoiseAware. I don't know if y'all could hear, but we were just grooving into some music, and they're going to be able to show us kind of how NoiseAware works a little bit, but I want everybody to go ahead and introduce themselves. So again, I'm Shelly, I'm the director here at the TreeHouse, and I'm with NoiseAware. Please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Dave Kraus, co-founded NoiseAware, actually about 20 yards that way, right here with my co-founder Andrew, who wishes he could be here.
And hi, Andrew.
Yeah, hey Andrew. And I'm Christine, and I'm the head of growth at NoiseAware.
Awesome. So I kind of want to just get off the bat and say, what is NoiseAware?
Oh.
Take two.
This, if you can see that,
Yes, I can.
is part of the system we created. Really, NoiseAware is a solution to noise issues, and what we built was an early response tool for when there's a noise nuisance elsewhere, when you're remote from it. How are you going to find out about it? Well, we created technology that's going to notify you before your neighbors or police get engaged, and it was because it happened to me is why.
It happened to you. Do you want to share your personal story?
I'd love to, yeah. So about 2.5 years ago, I was managing a small portfolio of short-term rentals, and somebody named Christina,
Not me.
Not Christine, distinction there, with a difference, rented my place, and she said she was going to have a quiet weekend. She ended up having a massively disruptive party at my place.
Okay.
And I was 2 miles away the whole weekend, had no idea. But when I did find out, it was, the ship was already sunk.
Yeah.
So there was police reports, noise complaints, about $30,000 in damages, and just to unwind, I ended up having to sell a property. But really, it was submarine my business. I tried to engage in the short-term rental space.
Okay.
So I came with a problem to my brilliant co-founder, who was like, I can solve that problem, and that's how we got started.
So how did you and Andrew meet?
So we were both working separately out of the Dallas Entrepreneur Center downtown.
Okay.
And I had recently moved to Dallas, wanted to just have a community to work within, and he was going to teach a class about building custom smart home technology.
Okay.
And as somebody who had this mega pain point rattling around in my head saying, man, if I only had talent, I could build custom smart home technology. But I didn't have what he had. He didn't know of my problem. When we connected, it was just natural. We didn't intend actually to start a company, but when he built a prototype and it worked and I got the notification, I was like, okay, I can do what I want to do. And then he's like, actually, this is a great idea. Let's go in on this.
Definitely. And so you meet Andrew, you come up with, he makes the prototype, and then you're like, let's build this. What happened next? Where did you go from there?
I think timing seems, timing is kind of everything.
Yeah.
But timing is really novel, groundbreaking. You heard it here first. Timing is everything. No. So Andrew, he saw the potential as a startup company first. I was engaged in other activities, real estate related, and then when the timing really came to the point where I was finishing a project, we said, you know what, we've sat around a table 3 or 4 times and been like, okay, you do this, I'll do that, and then we kind of both come back and we're like, oh, we got, things happen. So I said, we need structure, we need a program, and that's actually when the timing of Collide Village, which is here at the Addison TreeHouse, was starting in, I think it was September 15th, 2015, and that was the first day we stuck a stake in the ground and said, we're doing this.
Awesome. And so Collide Village, just so everybody knows, is an accelerator that houses here out of the TreeHouse. So NoiseAware went through that accelerator, and so it seems like when you joined it, you really didn't have much. You had a prototype, but what did the accelerator help you do? And after the accelerator was over, kind of where were you at that point?
Great question. It's fun to think back to that as I'm sitting here. Really, what Collide Village did is it was a lean startup methodology based, kind of classroom based accelerator. So it wasn't just meet once a week and share your thoughts. We got education out of it.
Yeah.
So there were we had textbooks and homework assignments, and it just walked you through how do you get to product market fit, a minimum viable product, do customer development, understand customer acquisition cost. I'm literally listing things that I had no idea about any of this stuff until it started, and then you realize like, oh, it feels like a classroom, and then you start talking to investors. They're like, well, what's your customer acquisition? You know, it immediately applied because you had a project to work on. So that accelerated us to the point where we were able to talk to a ton of customers, understand that the pain point I had where somebody threw a party and I was the last one to find out, and if I had only known that feeling, it was in spades in the larger industry, and we wouldn't have known that unless we got out of the room and got out there. So, you know, really just the concept of validating your ideas before you go and build anything is incredibly important. We still do that. Like we try and yeah. I mean.
So I was just going to ask, so that was in 2015. Christine, when did you join NoiseAware?
So I joined in 2016, right around the summer, but funny enough, I also met them at the Dallas Entrepreneur Center.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I started to, you know, at 1 Million Cups. I met Andrew and then met Dave, and they were both trying to figure out how they were going to do it on their own after kind of graduating, I guess, in a way. And so yeah, and then that was when we decided to actually open up the e-commerce side of NoiseAware to start selling it online and distributing it to, you know, all sorts of short-term rental managers and hosts all over the country. So that's around the time when I joined.
Awesome. And so how does the technology work?
Sure. So the first design feature or consideration is privacy. So smart home tech, IoT, Amazon Alexa, a lot of that, you draw the line between natural language processing, like can you talk to what you're interacting with, or is it basically part of the background wallpaper, just, you know, detecting things in your house like a smoke detector. And so we fit into the kind of passive smoke detector elements of your home. Your thermostat, you interact with it sometimes, but it really is just sitting there most of the time.
Right.
That is the concept we applied for noise, which hadn't really been done in the way we did it. You know, we didn't invent things in a lab, we put them together in a new way. And that technology, originally the concept has to be privacy safe. No content, no conversation recorded, no nothing.
Sure.
Just levels of noise.
Because I'm sure there's a lot of legal issues with that.
Absolutely. And you know, you get an education in that quickly, and you're like, okay, well, this is what, you know, it is important, and we designed through it from day one. So that's important. Number two is the alerts that you get. If you're getting a message from your home effectively, you're going to want them to be meaningful. Otherwise, you're just, you know, that when the smoke detector is beeping, keeping you up at night, people take a baseball bat to it.
Right.
That's not the part we want to fit into. So Andrew especially came up with an algorithm that we call the noise risk score.
Okay.
And so if you think about this room, we're having a conversation. I can actually show you the graph. I'm able to do it at the end.
I would love, show us.
Yeah, and it'll look like this on the kind of lower third of the graph, which indicates there's really no risk.
Right.
But if we start, you know, Madison over there starts playing her jams, and we kind of start turning it up, and then you have quiet hour settings, so when it's at night, now you take that concept to a home where people are traveling and visiting, you're going to get an alert when the noise risk score exceeds your given threshold, your customized threshold.
So how am I going to get that alert? Is it a text? Is it an email?
It's a text.
Either way.
Text or email.
Either way.
Text or email. And we want to fit into people's systems. You know, a lot of
Sure.
times people are just waiting for their neighbor to call, and then they go through a whole escalation protocol. We're just that first alert, so they don't have to wait for their neighbors.
Awesome. Love that. And so has NoiseAware's direction or focus sort of changed since you started to now, or has it always kind of been, working with people who have Airbnbs and are kind of in that market?
Why don't you take that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still on a mission to help short-term rentals, because that's where it's kind of the biggest problem. I mean, a lot of the times we talk about when we're talking with cities or when you see something in the papers, a lot of it is cited to noise, and that's kind of the number one issue, and the reason that regulation gets a little drawn out of proportion, and you see a lot of Airbnbs are getting banned in certain areas, Austin being one of them, New York. And so then as we've started, I think we've also found other avenues, and we've heard some stories from different people who have reached out to us and said this is the only thing that's really out there to have noise data that can show them exactly what the noise level was at their property or in some sort of situation. So we've worked with other types of verticals. I mean, construction is one, and then we've talked to different cities about different avenues. So even though we're starting to discover those, I think that the focus has been short-term rentals because it is the biggest problem. And a lot of people have come to us being like, I've almost lost my company because of this, or my neighbor is such a problem that I can't even run my business. And short-term rentals are a business, even though they're in residential neighborhoods in most cases or vacation communities. So
yeah, I mean, to echo that, when I look at it as like an escalating mission.
Yeah.
And the first mission that Andrew and I set out to do was just give me awareness, so I didn't walk into the buzzsaw.
Selfishly, yeah.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
Self-preservation is. If we didn't do that, nobody would survive, right?
Exactly.
So a little bit of Darwinism originally.
Yeah.
So I wanted to survive and be the fittest, if you will. But really, the idea was solve my problem. And Andrew's like, dude, this is a bigger problem than just you. So we went and discovered it through the Accelerator. And really, the first conference we went to was in Vegas. We're going to it for the third time in a month. There was a lady named Annie Martin, love you, Annie, who said, she literally was in tears looking at our prototype. And she was saying, my neighbors, they don't see any solutions. All they hear, she's beholden to their anecdotes and their stories and whatever. And she's like, I do everything I can and I built this business. But the city was saying, like, look, we're going to have to shut you down because your neighbors keep calling 911.
Yeah.
And so she basically starts crying. And at that moment, like, something kind of clicked. I was like, you know what? This is not just bigger than, like, our little Dallas startup or noise issue that maybe I had, but there's kind of a industry level perception that there is no problem.
Sure.
Or sorry, there is no solution to a problem, so the problem gets overblown. So we bring black and white to that, and then the escalation beyond that, really where we're going is, our technology is potent. We can solve a lot of problems, but we also bring clarity to what might have happened the night before, and that gives the neighbors peace of mind. It gives a tenant peace of mind. And there is kind of a psychological benefit to knowing, like, it's not all in your head. Like, somebody else is going to be able to respond to a nuisance issue, even if you don't wake up and call. So, we're on the peace of mind. It's funny, our company started as Sigh, as in Sigh Relief. And we're kind of going,
the company name.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
When they were here, right? When
Yeah.
they were in Addison, yeah.
So when did you change it to NoiseAware?
After an interim name.
What was the interim name?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, that's fine. We don't have to go
It was
there.
terrible. This is before I got there.
Speaking of evolution and pivoting and stuff, Christine, we found a lot of complementary skill sets. And like Christine, I was my first hire, and I think we met in March, and I was like, I'm going to hire you in June, and I'm going to make sure we raise enough money to do it because we can't survive without you. And that's at June 30th. She started.
Yeah.
I mean, just in time. And then,
Right at the guy.
and we're still alive.
Still going.
So what would you say your impact was early?
I think just, we always joke that startups go through different phases. I think at that point it was like awkward teenager phase where we'd get an order and then we'd all kind of look at each other like, oh, we got to ship it. And then we get an intern, okay, put it in a box and send it out. And, you don't really have a lot of the, I had worked mostly in, software, so it wasn't hardware. We have to ship something to these customers. And so I think just kind of pulling everything together and getting them organized and then saying, okay,
we wrapped
there's
it in
time.
bubble wrap.
We wrapped it in
Andrew, this looks like a football of bubble wrap.
There was like, when I first started, I remember I was like, I'll pick my battles. Like, I only have a few battles to pick. I'm not gonna like totally come in and be like, geez, guys, come
Change
on,
everything,
like
right.
get it together. But I picked a couple. There was the people that would be time wasters. I would say that we can't spend time on everybody because time is our biggest resource.
Right.
So there was a lot of in the early days, kind of just getting the brand feel together. I mean, the first website Dave built, and he's not a website
I was
designer.
the first webmaster, and Andrew says, Andrew made the first sale, and I
Which
built
is
the
true.
first website, and they're both true.
Uh-huh.
So he's the best salesman we got.
I kind of tried to bring together the brand and help us, figure out who our customers were going to be and really highlight them. And I'm pretty sure in the beginning days I talked to almost every single customer. So now we're kind of going back through some of those that are supposed to renew.
Sure.
It's kind of funny to talk to old people that I'm like, wow, these people were really excited about us, and you're always kind of embarrassed by your first product. I was like, they liked us when we sucked.
Right? They always say that you should be embarrassed by your first.
So it was nice to know that they loved us when we weren't perfect, and we're not perfect yet, but we're making a lot of improvements, and we have an amazing team that's building a perfection product.
So how big is the team now?
We have 9 full-time plus Div the intern who we lose.
Yeah.
And then, so there's 9 of us cranking, but there's probably 40 or 50 people who in some way either consult or contract, or, I mean, it could be more than that.
Yeah.
But that's what boggles my mind, the 20 investors, and you're like, geez, how did that all happen?
Yeah, so fast.
What?
Can y'all talk through some of your wins? You were talking earlier, you had some. What are some big wins that you've celebrated over the
Did
years?
anything happen today?
What happened today?
Let me tell you.
Oh, yeah. Well, we made it in Fast Company, because I
That's
guess
really
we're a fast-growing company.
Yeah, you are. That's great.
No, I think that's really amazing too for the Dallas startup community. We I think it's a little smaller than most places, or most people don't think that there's a lot of startups in Dallas, and so I think it's huge to get a national publication like that. And I think they even mentioned Dallas a few times in the publication, so that'll be huge for us and for Dallas. But yeah, that was a big win. That's the one we're celebrating most recently, but we like to celebrate a lot of them internally. So
yeah, I would say from the earliest days, we figured out where we had utility for really big companies, and so I remember March of 2016. I don't even know if we had an investor after the Accelerator yet, but we went to HomeAway, and big ups to HomeAway, my peeps, and they are in city halls talking about the noise issue is not as big as you're saying, and yada yada, and then we realized that, hey, we can talk about noise as there is a solution.
Sure.
So before we really had much going on, we found where we were useful to a really big company. And so if anybody has a startup out there, that's a major piece of advice, is do not doubt that your service or your technology could be the end-all be-all, incredibly important to a big company, even if it's just in a sliver of that big company and one person. Matt Curtis at HomeAway, at the time, he said, hey, I want to put you in my toolbox, and just even from a messaging standpoint. And then we did a study with them, and it really, the best way is to get a hand up, not a hand out. And so we those were the biggest things early on, because we were just sorting out how to ship them and package them.
Right. So I want to talk a little bit about your company culture, because you guys are so fun and seem like you just have the best time. When you're building your company as a startup, talk about how, is it important for you to have, keep that company culture? How do you, as you grow, bring the right people onto your team?
Why don't you talk about the school project concept?
What's the school project concept?
I mean, we all kind of feel like we're on this school project that you're just working in a group with forever, and we always joke about it.
Your classmate friends.
Your class and your friends. No, I think we heard the best thing at SurveyMonkey when we got to meet the CEO, and he had mentioned that, you're not really a family, you're a football team. And so that way you're hard on each other, but then you have a lot of fun together. And then you also, you look to a coach to be a really great leader, but then I think other players on the team have to also be leaders. But I think internally we just early on decided that there was no, we aren't the Uber, that's for sure, but we decided there was no real playbook that we were going to follow that someone else had done. It was going to be our way. And so we kind of have our own, nicknames internally on what we call some of our customers, and they come from inside jokes.
Customer personas, not individual.
Yeah, not individual, but customer personas. But that kind of, I think, we always make it fun, and we have teammates. This past weekend, we did a whole pilot with two other teammates, and we all stayed up the whole weekend together. We did all-nighters to do this test for a couple customers.
Becoming sleepaway.
Yeah, now it's coming. And it was just, that's the kind of culture that we've built. I don't know really. I can't say that there's, one specific thing that we've really done. I think it's a few, 1,000 or 100 things that we've done. But I think from the beginning, the personalities of the people that come to the team really just sync, and I like to always say vibe, I don't know, with us. Yeah, exactly. And, I think that's super important, because then everyone gets excited to come to work, and then we're hard on each other, but then we're also really, kind of lift each other up and stuff like that. But I think the joking and everything like that, like, making that fun, but we don't go too far.
I guess thinking about who might be watching right now, not all companies can sell or be involved in a vacation rental industry.
Yeah, that too.
So we have had the benefit of having to take a company trip to Austin, where we rented one of our customers' homes, and then we tried to do work, and it turned into kind of a party because we had to test our sensors.
Obviously. Party.
I felt like it the next day. I wish I hadn't. Anyways.
So it sounds like y'all work hard, play hard, and that's the motto that I live by, and I love it. I always say, you gotta work hard, but you gotta play hard too, and you gotta...
And our team, everyone works so hard, and because we've built such an amazing culture, there's no 9 to 5. Everybody's there, committed every day, and it's kind of crazy. We're all just, and we do like to say we're a family, but really we are kind of a football team. So. Yeah,
to that idea though of like, how do you build a culture from wherever you are? Obviously cultures is like amorphous concept, but I think you can engineer mutual experiences like a travel experience, and you think, okay, well, we have $30,000 in the bank or 90 grand, like how could we justify spending 2,000 or 5,000 on a trip? And I would say, how could you justify not doing that? Because as a company, you're trying to build a football team where you need to practice, and you need to like know how other people are and under pressure or whatever. So I really think there's a real value to almost saying, hey, let's spend money on a mutual experience. It could be a free experience. Go to the park and do trust falls.
I think we're going to some Dallas event, here. We do stuff like that together, and we always try to have happy hours on Fridays together. Not everybody comes, but as much as you can. And then in our interview questions, it's like, would you get on a Winnebago with us? Because we've done that. So it's like, would you be willing to get in a Winnebago and drive down the coast?
One other thing too is we've had a concept of like, be a part of our group before you work here or you get hired. And it's kind of like a try before you buy, but at the same time, it's like, it works in both directions. Somebody who spends a day or a week inside your company, if they don't like it, why would they want to stay? But you can't make mistakes. I think, like they said, the first 15 hires, you kind of can't. You got to be pretty judicious with like how you get into relationships with people. So I would also say, don't be afraid to ask somebody to come in for a day or on a Sunday, or package sensors and bubble wrap for you.
I think the other thing too is that Dave will point to me sometimes when we're interviewing people and say, she started just by helping us out, and it was kind of that try concept, because I think until you're really in the startup every single day, you don't really know what it's like. I've had the great privilege to like work for other startups, so I know what I'm in for, but some people don't realize that it's a lot different than corporate.
And I want you to touch on that a little bit. So you founded this company, but what's it like to work for a startup? What are some of the qualities that people need to possess to do that? Because entrepreneurship is kind of like the in thing right now. Working for a startup, it's cool, but it's hard. So talk about your experience working for startups.
I think there's a lot of dedication and being pushed out of your comfort zone. So you're not going to do just one thing, and there's no real structure. So the craziest thing is when you walk into work, like most days, there's not somebody telling you exactly what to do, because you're probably building something for the first time. So you're really trying to figure it out. Now we have more leadership within the company, but I think in the beginning days, it's just like you're going in and you're figuring out like what's going to be next, and the future is kind of unpredictable. So you have to be okay with that. It's kind of risk taking in a way, and I think some people don't realize that it's going to be challenging, and We kind of sometimes also joke that, you know, you might lose some friends and family because you're not gonna, you know, get to see people as much because it's a real dedication. I mean, there's nobody to do something if you're not doing it. So you're kind of really, you know, if there's a client that's calling or something that's needed, and we also say, like, do whatever it takes. You know, there's not really a systematic formula for how we do everything. You know, we try to build the process as I say we're always building the airplane while we're flying it, and that's super scary because who knows when something's gonna make us, you know, fall or crash, and so it's kind of why you gotta do whatever it takes. And
absolutely,
some people aren't willing to do that.
And absolutely. And so as a founder, talk about, you touched on this earlier, some advice that you would give to entrepreneurs, but what do you say to people who are just starting out and saying, I want to be like you, or, you know, I want to start a company? You know, what do you say to them?
I want to be you when I grow up.
I want to be just like you.
We were just talking about how I'm like the oldest guy.
Yeah.
33, if anybody's wondering. So, I think, you know, if you aspire to be a startup person or found a company, I can only speak to my own experience. I did not aspire to do NoiseAware at all, or Side, whatever we called it. Basically, you need to solve a real problem to have a business. So if you're sitting like, okay, where can I go find startup people, or how am I going to go find a co-founder? Like there's, you know, co-founder dating and stuff like that. I would say, what pisses you off right now? Like look in the mirror and say, I'm one of, you know, what, 7 billion people on the earth. If I have any version of a problem, there's probably millions and millions of other people have that same problem. And one of our advisors affectionately called it, like, don't invent the better pizza finder. Like, because that's just a project to, you know, you're incrementally improving something that kind of doesn't need to be improved that much.
Sure.
Think of something that isn't there, ask yourself why, and then if it's a personal issue, you know, one thing I didn't realize is that I would be telling my own personal story, not talking about the product.
Right.
Almost invariably more than the product, because at the end of the day, like, people don't go into a project because they want to, like, you know, punch in 9 to 5 and like feel like they've moved the football a little bit further. You gotta want to change something or invent something or solve a real problem. So look for a problem before you look for a person or a place. And then if you're not passionate about it, it's just gonna be you won't wake up.
I think that's the biggest thing too we look for when we add team members is the passion piece, because you have to be super passionate about this because it's our life, you know, it's kind of what we do, and
sleep, breathe it.
Yeah, we're on a mission, and it's kind of, so if you're not passionate about it, especially as the leader and an entrepreneur, then it's gonna start to kind of be mundane, or, you know, not gonna put as much effort into it.
Yeah. So what does the future of NoiseAware look like?
Oh, it's so bright. I just wear the sunglasses. Oh, sorry. I'm sure everybody's already tuned out, I'm sure.
Like,
hey, Mom!
James,
what's up,
stop
Mom?
talking!
Mom, my mom and dad are, I'm sure, over there.
Richard.
The future, so I think we used to be able to see about 3 days ahead. Now we're like a couple months.
Awesome.
And we have, you know, ambitions for years and whatever. But it almost, you only have so much brain space and can only handle so many variables, that I think the future is really to grow in our core competency, which is short-term rental noise solutions. And the other piece that we've really stood up in a meaningful way is our Rent Responsibly program, which is our advocacy arm. And it's a separate website, it's a separate concept. Kind of have like separate partnerships really even through that. And it's you know, as we go technology solutions, how are we actually implementing the solve to the real problem? How are we going to turn that message and get people from, I call it our industry, to stand with us, behind us, arm in arm, and say, look, damn it, we're responsible people doing the right thing, we're using the best tools, and the city and the detractors out there, they're going to get run over by time. And, you know, it's like the guy who said, hey, these horses and buggies are pretty cool, why would anybody start driving a car?
Right.
So the car just rolled out onto the highway. They're now building speed limits. We're kind of in the seatbelt airbag concept because it's technology that makes it safer and more, community friendly and yada yada. But that idea of our escalating mission is we actually, stood on the stage with Airbnb, HomeAway, and NoiseAware. In the first year of our business, that's kind of stupid. And at the end of the day, our ambition is to not change the world, but make short-term rentals sustainable from the noise piece, and then bring our technology to other areas where noise is a pestilence. Frankly, it's a pollution, noise pollution.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, do you want to show us the graph of, so we've been monitoring our noise levels here while we're talking, and so Dave is real quickly just gonna put his graph, I guess, up to the camera so y'all can see how it works.
So
Press the close button.
yeah, let me just push close. Oh. So here we are. If you see this blue spike, that was actually at the beginning of the conversation when we had the music playing over there. So amplified music over time actually triggered an alert, would have brought me to this graph. But after that, just kind of normal levels of conversation. That's really the magic, is that I can get my attention brought to, awareness to the noise environment at a property, and be able to reach out and proactively solve a problem. And that's what I wanted to show you, is because every day people are like, if I could only solve problems that I'm just unaware of, we're bringing the awareness to it.
Sure. And so the last question that I always end these interviews with is, what does co-working mean to y'all? And the reason why I asked that is because the TreeHouse is a co-working space here, and y'all started here at the TreeHouse out of Collide Village. You met at the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, another co-working space. So talk about what co-working means to you. I'd like both of y'all to answer.
I would say networking and kind of a great environment to work in, because there's other people who are doing some of the same things you are, and so even though it puts you in this bubble, it helps you kind of feel like you can accomplish what you need to.
Awesome. What about you?
Permission to be cheesy?
Yes, of course.
The Hallmark card.
The Hallmark card. I was just like, what's a good analogy?
You wrote a poem earlier today, so I mean, keep it going.
Liberal arts major. Thank you, Andrew, for having real talent. You talk about the beginning of life. You have a pool of whatever different chemicals and things in a swirling in a pool, and then life springs out of it. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm told is how life started.
I think that's the story I got.
Yeah. Wait, sources. Yep. No. Confirmed. So the idea though is just putting yourself in that environment gives you the chance to be part of that chemical reaction that might spring a startup. So
yeah.
I think co-working is life.
Is life. There you go. Boom. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. NoiseAware, thank you so much for joining us here at the TreeHouse. It's great to have you back.
I hope we were the most comical.
I think you definitely were. Time will tell, but I think that's probably a true statement. So everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. You can tune in next week for our last Facebook Live interview, again at 2:30 on Thursday with Glass Media. And I hope to see y'all there. Have a great rest of your day.
Email me, david@noiseaware.io. We'll solve your noise problems. Boom. See ya.